But let's begin with China first. Lots of things are being said about why China has done this in Ladakh. Give me your sense of what do you think the thinking behind this was?
हेलो दोस्तों, कैसे हैं आप सभी दोस्तों। आज हम जो है पाकिस्तानी मीडिया का एकदम लेटेस्ट वीडियो देखने वाले हैं। लेकिन दोस्तों सबसे पहले हम डिस्कस करने वाले हैं कि पाकिस्तानी मीडिया इंडिया के बारे में क्या डिस्कस कर रहा है। दोस्तों पाकिस्तानी मीडिया कभी भी इंडिया के बारे में पॉजिटिविटी की बातें जो है डिस्कस नहीं करता है, बल्कि ये कहता है कि इंडिया की इकोनॉमी डिप्लोमेसी बहुत ज़्यादा जो है अच्छी है, जिसकी वजह से इंडिया ने पाकिस्तान को आइसोलेट कर दिया है। तो दोस्तों इसमें कोई शक नहीं है, क्योंकि इंडिया इतना आगे जा चुका है कि पाकिस्तान अब उसका मुकाबला किसी भी फील्ड में नहीं कर सकता। तो दोस्तों चलिए वीडियो देख लेते हैं। वीडियो देखने के बाद बाकी सारी बातों पर डिस्कस करेंगे। चलिए शुरू करते हैं।
Tonight is about India's latest military signaling in Ladakh. According to reports in the Indian media, IAF flew its Rafale fighter jets in Ladakh and what was branded as familiarization sorties. 5 Rafales, which were formally inducted into service at the Ambala Air Base on 10 September, conducted some sorties in Ladakh in recent days. The pilots flew from Ambala to familiarize themselves with the operational environment. The deployment of French-made Rafale jets in Ladakh came less than 10 days after they were formally inducted into the IAF. Tensions are high in the undemarcated border areas in eastern Ladakh since May this year. Troops from China's People's Liberation Army and Indian Army are facing each other at multiple points in the theater, including between the defense and foreign ministers of China and India. The last such round produced a 5-point agreement high on intentions but low on substance. Tonight's discussion will cover 2 aspects: the technical operational view of aerial capabilities on both sides and the broader political strategic picture in view of the current tensions. For the first, we have with us former Air Vice Marshal Faiz Amir. VM Amir, an F-16 pilot, has had the privilege of also commanding PF, Premier Tactics Development Institute, the Combat Commanders School. For the second part of the discussion, we'll be joined by, in fact, we have been joined by former Foreign Secretary Ambassador Riaz Khokhar. Now, Ambassador Khokhar has been Pakistan's High Commissioner to India, Pakistan's Ambassador to the US, and also Pakistan's Ambassador to China. So he is uniquely placed to actually look at this triangle in a way that perhaps very few people can. But let me begin with AVM Amir in terms of the capabilities. Now, my first question to you, sir, is that 5 Rafales obviously don't make a strike package. What exactly could be the signaling here, or is it just simply a familiarization exercise with no actual hostile intentions?
Well, all fighter pilots and all over the world in periods of tension, they fly closer to border or in the border areas to familiarize themselves with that terrain that they would be operating in future. In this particular case, these were border FAM areas where probably the Rafale pilots wanted to see their airborne radar performance, particularly performance of their air-to-ground radar site, the part of it, so that when it comes to weapons employment, how would their radar operate? And moreover, probably in this particular sortie, I also think that they made some landing approaches close to on the Leh airfield. Now, why did they do that? Is probably for 2 reasons. One is the morale of the local people. They wanted to boost that. And second, the morale of the thousands of Indian Army soldiers. When they would hear the noise of this aircraft Rafale, or they would hear about it, definitely that's a morale booster for the soldiers. Now, particularly when those soldiers see a very long, daunting winter ahead, for which they are ill-equipped because they were employed in emergency. So what I see is Indian forces trying to boost the morale of their own people. Now, why the media frenzy so much? Why the Indian media played so much? I think there are three probable reasons besides that morale boosting. First is the to distract the 1.3 billion people's attention away from COVID-19, where the Modi government has definitely not performed well, and it is all over the media, all over the print and electronic media. Second is the shrinking economy, which Mr. Modi came as a champion of boosting its economy. I think this particular time when his economy has shrunk by 24%, they needed some distraction. And this is one of those distractions that they brought Rafael to the border areas and then given them full media coverage. The third one is, which is more military in nature, the land mass that they have lost to China in this since April skirmishes. So probably they wanted to distract their own people for these very reasons, the reasons of economy, the poor performance in COVID, and the land thousands of kilometers lost to the Chinese Air Force, Chinese people.
Right. I have various other questions, of course, on the technical side. As I said, we're going to discuss the capabilities on both sides also in terms of the platforms. But let me pull in Ambassador Khokhar. Ambassador Khokhar, as I said in my opening, you are uniquely placed in terms of, looking at this triangle. You've got China, India, and also, incidentally, the US, which is a very important, increasingly very important strategic partner of India, and also has its own approach towards China. But let's begin with China first. Lots of things are being said about why China has done this in Ladakh. Give me your sense of what do you think the thinking behind this was?
Ijaz, if we look at facts objectively, it's not China that has started this particular problem.
Right.
It is going back, it's India that is totally responsible for having taken the actions on August 19, 2019, by its actions in Kashmir and by declaring Ladakh as a union territory, and also made by the Indian Indian Home Minister in the Lok Sabha, where he said that we have done all this thing, now we will be recovering our territories from AJK and Gilgit-Baltistan and Aksai Chin.
Yeah.
Now, this is the crux of the matter. This, of course, clearly involves China in a big way, and it's very interesting that while we took some time to react, the Chinese reacted instantly, and they said that this action of the Indian government in Kashmir and by declaring or that it will take over Aksai Chin is unacceptable. They repeated this thing not once but 2 or 3 times and made it very clear that this is a violation, a grave violation by India. So I think let's be very clear that it's India that started this whole affair. Secondly, I think the Indians, in a way, somewhat repeated the mistakes of 1962. This is a part of their sort of forward policy, and they were building up infrastructures, they were building up placements for their soldiers, and they thought that they could do this without being noticed. But also the period, August was the time when they acted, so maybe the Chinese were not prepared to act the way they wanted to act.
नमस्कार दोस्तों, वीडियो आपने देख ही लिया है। दोस्तों, सबसे पहले एक रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहूँगा कि आप जो ये वीडियोस देखते हैं पाकिस्तानी मीडिया के, इनको बहुत सारे इंडियन यूट्यूबर्स ही बनाते हैं, तो मैं आप सभी से रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहूँगा कि आप उन लोगों का हौसला बढ़ाएं, कमेंट करें, उनके वीडियोस को लाइक करें, ताकि वो लोग आपको ऐसे ही बहुत सारे वीडियोस और दिखा सकें और ला सकें। दूसरा दोस्तों, इंडिया में बैठ के इंडिया के लिए काम कर रहे होते हैं, इंडिया के लिए डिप्लोमेसी का एक प्लेटफॉर्म तैयार करते हैं जिससे इंडिया आगे बढ़ सके। पाकिस्तान की कुछ ऐसी वीडियो क्लिप्स को पिक किया जाता है जिससे कि इंडिया अपना नैरेटिव जो है बना सके, और इस काम को बहुत सारे यूट्यूबर्स करते हैं ताकि दोस्तों कोई भी हमारे देश के खिलाफ कोई भ्रम या ऐसी चीज़ें ना फैला सके जिससे हमें या हमारी कंट्री को प्रॉब्लम हो। तो इन लोगों के वीडियोज जो हैं उनमें जो सच्चाई होती है वो दिखाई जाती है, और उसके बाद बहुत सारे इंडियन यूट्यूबर इस काम को कर रहे होते हैं। तो सबसे पहले मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि आप उन वीडियोस को लाइक, शेयर और चैनल को उनकी को जरूर सब्सक्राइब करें ताकि वो लोग और आगे बढ़ सकें। तो दोस्तों सबसे पहले ये कहना चाहूँगा कि अभी आपको अगर वीडियो पसंद आया है तो प्लीज़ वीडियो को लाइक कीजिएगा, शेयर कीजिएगा और मैं ऐसे ही मज़ेदार और इंटरेस्टिंग वीडियो आपके लिए लाता रहूँगा। मिलता हूँ अगले वीडियो में, तब तक के लिए थैंक यू।